Hi, Dr. Violet E. Taylor. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. So, are you ready for this event?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of this WYN conferences as a speaker. So, we are so privileged to listen your session. So, before start your session, so we will play in AV with your introduction. So, after that, you can start your session. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Here I am introducing Dr. Violet E. Taylor. Dr. Violet E. Taylor is a servant and transformational leader, passionate about well-being and empowering others. An international speaker and trainer. Her accomplishments include presentations on leading authentically, ethical decision making, diversity, equity, and inclusion through International Leadership Association and ethics and diversity through Common Ground Research Networks. Additionally, Taylor serves her community through developmental efforts on topics such as single parenting, doing it afraid, and unshakable. She is an author with recent publications on followership and the plight of women. Her manuscript Owning My Scars, a transformational journey to effective leadership affirms her prowess in self leadership and is pending publication. This is the introduction of Dr. Violet E. Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you
So
so
we
much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Well. So today, and we are so privileged that so many wonderful and beautiful speakers with their presentations, inspiring everyone. So I'm so honored. I'm so happy that I'm being the host of this WIN conferences. So yes, let's not uh, do late. So you can start your session. So this is your WIN stage. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Melinda, how do I get this to a full screen? I'm not using it. Thank you so much. Well, hello, leaders. I am so happy to be here as we empower each other. I've joined since 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time this morning for us. It's morning here, was morning at the time. And there have been so many powerful sessions thus far. I feel like I've been in like an all day coaching session. I encourage you, though, to continue to be fully present by engaging in the chat and with emotions so that we reap the most of our time together. It is my hope that in these next few minutes, you would receive empowerment to practice effective self and thought self leadership. In so doing, you would become aware of the source of your beliefs, thoughts, self talk, and the impact on your actions. It is my desire that by the end of our time, you would be equipped to reframe negative self talk to positive ones. As we enter our time, leaders, know that you are well able. You have what it takes. And I declare that you are effective leaders, leading yourself and others effectively. Now let's jump in, shall we? Leadership is influence. So leaders model the way. We don't point the way. And as leaders, we can influence positively or negatively. Now, self leadership is the ability to exert self control and strategically influence and lead oneself via mental and behavioral processes. Thought self leadership is a vital component of self leadership whereby we lead ourselves in controlling our thoughts. Now, I'm certain that our endeavor is to influence others positively. However, how often do we consider how we influence ourselves? How often do we consider our self and thought self leadership? Are we aware how our beliefs, thoughts and self talk influence us and others? Sadly, if we are influencing ourselves negatively, then we are influencing others negatively. For example, we could impart something positive and believe that we've done well, but our delivery could have been poor due to our ineffective self leadership. Let's talk about a few elements of self leadership. Effective self leadership begins with self awareness, which includes self examination and employing emotional intelligence. And according to the construct of self leadership, it also involves setting goals and having accountability. Now, the Oxford Dictionary defines self awareness as having a conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. And self awareness requires that self examination, which demands authenticity, for we must honestly assess who we are so that we gain that conscious knowledge. Leaders, we must ask ourselves those hard questions. However, knowing is never enough. We must employ emotional intelligence. It is the ability to be aware, to manage, and to express our emotions well. Emotional intelligence transitions knowledge to a higher level of understanding and wisdom. Emotional intelligence involves our ability to understand ourselves, why we are experiencing certain feelings, why we do what we do. And it helps us to understand our emotions, help us to understand others, as well as how we impact each other. This supports effective communication, conflict resolution, builds healthy relationship, healthy leadership. Another element of self leadership is setting goals. Once we are aware of who we are, we recognize areas that require improvement, areas where changes are needed. So we should set goals to pursue and accomplish that personal change that is needed to be our best selves, to bring our best selves to the table every day, to lead ourselves effectively so that we lead others effectively. Self leadership includes being careful of your inner circle, right? Now, we are privileged to be a part of WYN today, which means watch your network. And this could be used in this aspect. The individuals in our inner circle is our network, and they help to determine our altitude. This quote by an unknown individual is vital here, and I absolutely love it and sharing it with you today. Surround yourself with people who empower you, with people who believe in you, people who support you. Surround yourselves with people who uplift you, motivate you, and appreciate you. This is so beneficial because accomplishing our goals will require accountability. And having the right people in our circle, people that empower us instead of compete and tear us down, is vital. So, leaders, take a few seconds to examine who is in your network. Who are your influencers? Next element is self control. Without self control, it is impossible to practice effective self and thought self leadership. It takes self control to examine ourselves, to grow in emotional intelligence. It takes self control to set goals and diligently work toward accomplishing those goals. It takes self control to accept and allow others to speak into our lives, right? To be accountable to another. It takes self control to walk away from people who no longer serve the purpose of making us better. And at times, walking away may result in a season of isolation, right? Or what feels like isolation. But I can testify to you today that if you embrace that season of alone time well, isolation can result in transformation. Self control helps us to provide the most appropriate verbal and nonverbal responses, which mitigate conflict. And if there is conflict, it helps us to resolve those quickly. Let's talk about some elements of thought self leadership here. As we noted, the components of self leadership begins, excuse me, with consideration, thinking, right? So thought self leadership correlates with self leadership. After all, our thoughts ultimately direct our actions. Mahatma Gandhi said it best. He said, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words, and your words become your actions. Your actions then become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. Again, the importance of self control for effective thought self leadership is the effective thought self leadership is contingent upon self control, whereby we control our beliefs, which then impact our thoughts and our words. If we believe we cannot accomplish a goal, eventually our belief becomes our focus. It consumes our thoughts whenever we attempt to work on that goal. Soon that belief and thought impact our self talk. We begin to tell ourselves, I cannot accomplish this goal. It's too much. It's too hard. And we know that words have power. Indeed, death and life is in the power of the tongue. So our self talk impacts our passion. If we say we cannot, then it impacts our zeal. We are no longer passionate or motivated about that goal. Which impacts our actions. Since we've lost our passion, we do not work as hard as we could or should towards accomplishing that goal. And the reward, mediocrity, ineffective self leadership. Now, how do we build effective self and thought self leadership? I'll just share just a few nuggets here. Effective self leadership begins with authentic vulnerability. And our history plays a vital role, namely our upbringing, our cultures, our exposures. Now, leaders, I invite you to please take a moment to consider the source of your beliefs, the source of your thoughts, your self talk, and the impact on your passion and actions. And if you're comfortable sharing in the chat, that would be great because your sharing would empower others to take that step. And while you do so, I will encourage your authentic vulnerability by sharing my response to this question. My culture was one that stipulated that children revered adults. They obeyed without questioning. Obedience shaped excellence, and I obeyed to my detriment. This course of obedience later resulted in my suffering homelessness and years of various forms of abuse. This exposure shaped negative beliefs, thoughts, self talk, passions, and actions of seeking that excellence in obeying, in pleasing everyone but me, in settling for put downs, negative labels, and low expectations. The impact? Beliefs, thoughts, and self talk that said, I'm weak, I'm unlovable, not enough. Fear to speak, fear of letting others down. But leaders, we know that all things work together for good, right? And another form of fear propelled me to work towards changing the legacy of my family. It was in that process that I learned about self and thought self leadership and the value of reframing, the value in surrounding myself with the right people, the value in repairing my broken voice, and the impact on the trajectory of my leadership, personally and professionally. The next step is to pursue healing. Once we've become authentically vulnerable, if we uncover an area where brokenness exists, I encourage you leaders to pursue healing because we cannot lead ourselves and others effectively from a broken place. Another step is to spend time in reflection. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and journal your what, why, where, when, and how. Practice mindfulness, right? Consider your present beliefs, your thoughts, and your self talk. Observe how they have served you. Now, I previously mentioned that all things work together for good. So, another step is to review the purpose produced by our past experiences. Leaders, every problem has a promotion attached to it, and noting it supports healing and walking effectively in our leadership. Another step is to take psychometric assessments. And such some example are the Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, habit finders. They helps us to determine our strengths, our weaknesses, and so on. Another step is to seek feedback from trusted individuals, personally and professionally. Some tools that could support this endeavor is the 360 and 180-degree feedback. You could also invite a friend to lunch and solicit feedback. And again, here we see the importance of being mindful who is in your network, being mindful of your circle of influence. Remember, your network impacts your self and thought self leadership and determines your altitude. Another step is to recognize your value, your worth, and be true to them. Do not compromise to fit anyone's status quo. And finally, and the one that I found most beneficial to me was reframing, replacing those negative and dysfunctional beliefs, thoughts, and self-talk to more positive, functional ones. And leaders on this path, I invite you to be patient with yourself. This is not a sprint, it's a journey to continue. So continue these developmental efforts. Now, I hope that you've gained a few valuable nuggets that you can take with you. And I want to practice a time of reframing, but I want to precede that with some consideration, time of contemplation. Now, we're usually our worst critics. Oftentimes, we do not need feedback on our areas of weaknesses. In fact, some of us are very quick to point out our weaknesses. We critique our facial appearance, our weight, our body shapes, our ability. Reframing is the key. So I ask you, leaders, how are your beliefs and your thoughts? What is a poor belief or negative thought that you have? And how could you reframe it to a positive one? How is your self talk? What are one or two ways you could reframe your negative self talk? For example, when you attempt something and the results are not as expected, what is your immediate self talk? And feel free to share that in the chat. Again, iron sharpens iron, so let's empower each other. Let's be a little bit transparent. What is our immediate self talk when our our efforts toward our goal did not produce the results that we desire? Now let's practice some reframing. And I invite you to verbalize these next points audibly. I wish that we could um, unmute if possible, but I know that's not a possibility. But I invite you to fully engage and reframe these next unhealthy thoughts with me. When something doesn't go as we planned, oftentimes our belief, our thought, our self-talk is I'm a failure, right? So leaders, I invite you to reframe that to I have learned to do it better. Say it with me, leaders. I have learned to do it better. I am not staying down. I'm going to get back up again and again and again. Reframe I cannot to I am well able. Say it with my leaders. I am well able and I can and I will, right? Reframe I am unwanted to I am chosen. I am set apart for purpose. Reframe I am not enough. Whatever your not enough is, I'm not thin enough, not beautiful enough, not successful enough. Whatever your not enough is, reframe that to I am enough, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Reframe I am unlovable to I am dearly loved. Leaders, you are dearly loved. Purpose is upon you. Reframe I am defeated or I am a victim to I am victorious. I am more than a conqueror. In fact, I am success. Now, if you went through that exercise with me, note how you feel after reframing. I know for me, whenever I reframe, I feel healthy, great serotonin running through my body, and I hope that you have experienced the same. And leaders, as I go towards the end, I want to touch on our reflection again. Reflection solidifies our learning, right? And so, some reflection points that you could take is how could I reframe my dysfunctional beliefs, thoughts, self talk into positive ones? How is my self leadership impacting my personal and professional lives? Another point of reflection is how well am I leading myself and others? Because these questions support our continued development in this area. And the rewards for effective self and self thought leadership is effective leadership of ourselves and effective leadership of others. We communicate successfully, we mitigate conflict, we lead others and self extremely well. We have a healthy mindset and overall well being. We enhance our performance when we practice effective self and thought self leadership. Now, the opposite is true when our self and thought self leadership is ineffective. A little food for thought. The importance of embarking on the journey of effective self and thought self leadership is the realization of the impact on your destiny. Leaders, it was my humble privilege to learn and grow with you today, and I trust that you feel empowered to practice effective self and thought self leadership. I'd like to challenge you though. If you are well on your way to effective self leadership and thought self leadership, walk beside a beginner and mentor that individual. And if I can be that person for you, please feel free to reach out to me. I will share my contact information in the chat shortly. And if you are in Florida, would love to meet up and continue to learn and grow from each other. As a final word, leaders, I remind you that we do not point the way. Instead, we model the way, saying, "Come follow me." Therefore, it is vital that we work towards effective self and thought self leadership. Doing so yields great rewards, including leading yourselves and others effectively. This entails examining beliefs, thoughts, self talk, and how they impact us, impact our passion and our actions, and reframing those dysfunctional beliefs, thoughts, and self talk into positive, functional ones. Leaders, I empower you today by speaking into your leadership, your lives, that you are kind to yourselves and are therefore kind to others. You are successful leaders and you delight in helping others to succeed. I declare that you lead with excellence and integrity. Leaders, you are blessed to be a blessing. You are highly favored. You are walking out effective self and thought self leaders. So you lead yourself and others effectively. Leaders, you are phenomenal leaders and you will lead others phenomenally. Thank you so much. The information that I shared today is from my book, soon to be published, called Owning My Scars, A Transformational Journey to Effective Leadership. Again, I look forward to connecting. Thank you for sharing this time and space with me. I know we're joined from different time zones, so I say happy 24 hours. It has been an honor. Thank you, leaders.
Thank you so much, Dr. Violet E. Taylor. It's really a great presentation, awesome presentation. So 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 I can see there is a question from our audience. So okay. So here is the question: how do you balance your work life and the responsibilities?
I use strategic planning. I struggle with that for a long while because I'm a single parent, and in 2010 is when I start my journey of trying to change the trajectory of my family, being the first college graduate. And at the time, my two children were younger with no family in the area. So I was juggling going to sporting events, going east and west. They're 6 years apart, and just doing full time work, full time school. And I had to plan, had to eliminate the things that didn't serve me well at the time and focus on my goal and develop some strategic planning to help me to achieve those goals. And so that helped me to balance. I had to learn to say no, which was hard for me. I had to say no to the things that I didn't need to be involved in at that time.
Well said,
And
well
so for
answered.
me, it's
Thank
been the power of no helped me with with balance.
so nice. So nicely you answered the question. So thank you so much for your beautiful presentation. I think it's inspired many of them. So yeah. So have a great day, and let's not
Thank
wait.
you,
Let's go to
everyone.
another speaker. Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much. Bye bye.